How important is transparency when you're operating in this type of approach?
It's the key to success. If you see somebody, let's say you walk in a room and you want to create transparency as to everybody, what everyone's working on, what they're achieving, and how they've decided to measure themselves. If you see somebody resisting that, it's probably because they don't know what they're doing. Or they're trying to cover up something. Or they're expecting a windfall somewhere else in the process that they get to claim credit for. What I found is when you create transparency and you operate under those, it's amazing the things you can do. It also takes a tremendous amount of selflessness as well in order to operate under transparency, where, quite honestly, you're having an expert say, these are the things that I can do, and these are the things that I have no idea how they work. And you're creating this really great line where you say, okay, this is risk for this overall endeavor, and now I need to assign that to somebody else. And transparency makes all of that possible. It also allows everyone to organize themselves around that risk to best mitigate it. And that's what transparency provides. So as I've been really amazed by the expertise and finding experts and people that know how it works, I've also been really amazed at how many people resist transparency. And it's for most of the reasons that I'm sharing with you. It's because they quite honestly don't understand it or are unwilling to, or they see it as something where something's going to be taken from them, and maybe it's ego, or maybe it's stature, or maybe it's something else. But when you see somebody that's willing to walk in the room and say, hey, here's my business model, here's how I make money, and here's what I can do for you, in that sort of transparency, you've found yourself an expert.
Now, people talk about being honest. How is honesty tied into all of this?
Honesty's that moment where if you're not able to be honest, you're creating risk. If you're not able to truly do an assessment and talk very candidly about what capabilities are and what expertise is, it creates tremendous rifts. The other thing I can say is the random movement that occurs around not being honest. You know, all of the readjusting everything uses a tremendous amount of intellectual capital that can go towards so many better things.
So you're actually proposing that if someone is not honest or they're not being transparent, it actually costs more.
Absolutely.
And you've seen this in your business.
Absolutely. See it all the time.
Is that why you have philosophies like if you have an expert and everybody knows what they're doing and it's in an integrated information system, that you try to pay people as soon as you can?
Absolutely. So if you think of what I do for a living, it's really converging thousands and thousands of supply chains to build the built environment that's around us, right? If you think of what we do, everything we do is prototypical. We never get into a grind where we get to create more than one of the same thing, especially in the same economic parameters. And now if you take that and you think of how one piece of that supply chain moving without integrity, without transparency, affects everything downstream of it, that's how my philosophy's been developed. Is I've found when I can have honesty, when I found that I can have transparency, I can give you a predictable outcome at the end of that supply chain. When it comes down to things like payment, what are we actually trying to do? We're trying to have an exchange of services, value for value, and whether on one side it's a currency, on the other side it's a service, the cleanest you can make that interaction, the better you're going to be. Because now you both know what is going to happen. It's not that you have to trust that I'm going to pay you and I have to trust that you're going to deliver the services. It's this right of exchange that says this is how business is done. And this is how business with me will work.
Now, how does this all impact the legal aspects of the construction industry today? And the tremendous amount of legal work and contract work and legal issues. What should happen to this if more people understood these concepts?
Well, so there's a horrible example of where things have gone awry. So there's this huge contingent in the legal industries in the middle of it, but they say, hey, if something went wrong once somewhere, then we should add that to our legal system or to our contracts. And the truth of the matter is all it does is take us further from where we want to be. Quite honestly, if you and I can't sit down on a napkin and sketch out what our agreement is at its element, these are the things that I'm going to provide, the services I'm going to provide. Here's the things that I can't control, and this is risk that you need to take on. And we can't sit down and sketch that out and have that meeting of the minds, then the truth of the matter is we're taking further away from what we're able to provide for one another. And we're creating some of that complexity that takes away from a best value approach. I look at some of our clients' contracts, and at one side you start reading them and you're like, man, what has happened to you in order to drive all of these things to be something that you've concerned yourself to the point to write down? On the other side, it's interesting where you can have an honest dialogue that says, well, what are your expectations for me? Now that you've provided me with this 200-page novella, what are your true expectations for me? And often they'll say, well, I want you to do this or that. And you say, well, what you're truly asking for is just for me to be predictable. And I can often respond back and say, these are the things that I know I can do for you, and these are the things that I can take off of your plate and manage on your behalf. And this is how you're going to know I'm doing that, and this is the transparency that you're going to have in that process.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel for more content. If you have any questions about the best value approach or for Dr. Dean, leave them in the comment section below and we'll get to them in a later video. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.